minutes. Let a couple people get on before we get started here. Do a little sharing. It's going to be an interesting conversation tonight. We're going to start doing these shows again every Tuesday. 8 o'clock is the plan. Definitely a show every Tuesday, 8 o'clock. And then from there, we'll add more. Peace. How you doing? What's that? Venetia? All right. Gonna do a share real quick. Share the video to different places. Share the video wherever you would like to share it. Let's get more people on here. Go ahead and say right now. Here's the thing. People who are, if you find with your religion, this ain't for you. This ain't about you. Not really gonna deal with a lot of people who just want to argue different stuff, because this ain't about arguing. This is about people who have decided that, you know what, Christianity ain't my thing. I'm not going for it. It's not for me. So, that's cool. That's who we're talking to. That's who I'm talking to. I'm not talking to people who, exactly, religion is false. I'm not talking to people who say, you know what, I love my Allahs, my Jesus, my all that. If that's where you are, hey, stay there. Stay there. This is not for you. This is for those of us who have decided that we're just not going to do this. Now, a lot of people, I'm just going to keep it right here. I'm not going to share it anywhere else. For a lot of people, a lot of us, one of the common things that we get from people all the time is, oh, you don't believe in the Bible because you ain't read it. You need to go back and read your Bible. And I've gotten that a lot. On my TikTok, I've been making little short videos, posting some of them to Facebook, some of them to Instagram and YouTube. But what I've gotten a lot of is, oh, you haven't read your Bible. You need to go back and read your Bible. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to read the Bible. We're going to read. We're going to take like however long it takes, not tonight, but however long it takes. We're going to go chapter, verse for verse, chapter for chapter, through Genesis, through Exodus. Today I plan on doing chapter 1 and 2 of Genesis. If we go a little bit further into 3, we go into 3. But I'm trying to save 3 and 4. We're going to try to do at least 2 chapters every Tuesday. And this might take us a year. But it's going to be a good year. It's going to be a good time. Because for those of us who's walked away from it, we're going to, really be able to see how this doesn't make any sense. And that these people were just writing based on lack of knowledge. And trying to control their environment and trying to control the people around them. All right. So if you're watching on the Coach Renz Facebook or you're watching on YouTube, hit that button to subscribe. Hit that button to stay on the page, share it to everybody. Let's get this going. And, we're going to keep going with this. We're going to roll with it. All right. How you doing, Denise? How are you? Uncle Renz. For those who don't know, I own Uncle Renz Popcorn. Right now, I can't let you guys see it because it ain't ready yet, but I'm inside of what's going to be Smoking Phoenix, my cigar lounge. So this is how we do things around here. Right? So we're going to dispel a lot of foolishness that we've been taught, that we've learned over these years, so we can get this stuff out of our system so we can actually utilize, how the universe works and make our lives a lot better. All right. So as soon as we hit that 5-minute mark, we're going to get started. As soon as we hit that 5-minute mark. So, yeah. If you're a Patreon and you're on here, I appreciate all my Patreons. I appreciate people who do what is it called? I don't know. When they do the comments, super comments, whatever it is on YouTube, I appreciate all that. I appreciate the people who shop with me in my business. I appreciate all you guys who subscribe. Everybody who's joined the YouTube page, I appreciate you guys tremendously. So thank you very much. One day we're going to get like more stuff. So let's get ready. Let's go. So the first book of the Christian Bible is Genesis, right? Well, Christian Bible, they call it the Tanakh with the Old Testament, but it's called the Tanakh with the Jewish people. But the Muslims, they read it as well. This is their first book. This whole creation thing, this whole creation myth, is what we're going to go over, and we're going to look at how insane it is, how it doesn't make any sense, and how science and just looking and reality shows us that this stuff is made up. It's made up. I'm gonna try to read you guys' comments, any questions, that sort of thing, and we're gonna keep it going. We're gonna try to keep this down to like an hour, hour and a half. We're not going like back in the day when we used to do 4-hour shows. We're not doing 4-hour shows. No, all right, we're not doing that. So this book, Genesis, we got chapter 1 and chapter 2. You kind of got to do chapter 1 and chapter 2 together, because these are two tellings of the exact same, two tellings of a creation that some people try to say that, oh, it's the same story, just the second one's in detail. But no, you got two different people writing this. You got two different groups of people, I should say, writing this. It is theorized that the group of people that wrote chapter 1 were the northern Israel, the tribe of northern Israel. Now, mind you, none of this shit was written until like in the 500s BCE, before the Common Era. None of this was written before then. So they're trying to write about things long before that, right? You appreciate those long shows? Got you through your day. Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me, because I can talk. But they wrote this, and the northern kingdom of Israel supposedly wrote Genesis chapter 1. The southern, and they're called the Elohists. The southern nation of Judah supposedly wrote the second chapter, which is why they're retelling it. And they're trying to retell it based on their culture. And we're going to see a lot of cultural things in this. So let's get started. Let's go. We're going to start this. What I'm reading out of is a King James version. Some versions are going to be slightly different in wording, which is always interesting, because the wording is different and has slightly different meanings. And thought it's supposed to be the inerrant word of God, and a lot of people out there believe that this is the inerrant word of God, that they don't need science, they don't need any other kind of science, that this explains how man came to the planet, how man is on the planet, how the animals, how the birds, trees, everything, birds and animals, how the stars and everything was created. So let's go in through this nonsense of how it's nonsense, and not in the negative way like I'm calling the people nonsense. It's just, it doesn't make sense. None whatsoever. And when people come to you and say, well, you're looking at it through human eyes, not spiritual eyes. All right, you have no choice. You have no choice. Because this is talking about things that you would see with your eyes. And we're going to see how this is people looking around and then making up stories to try to explain what's going on. But because they lack the knowledge of science, of our science today, or even science 100 years ago, 500 years ago, they kind of just do these vague, give it up to something that you can't prove, something that that if I said it to a child, said it to a bunch of people, I'm the leader, I can say these things, and people just they're gonna go with it. They're gonna go with it because nobody can disprove it at the time frame that they wrote it. So in Genesis chapter 1, it says that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now, right there, we already have a problem. It says that God created the heavens and the earth at the same time in chapter 1. So here's the thing. We know that through science, that the heavens is a synonym for the universe, right? For a whole universe, everything outside, all that stuff in the sky, all that stuff in the darkness, things that we don't even know yet, things we haven't seen yet. So God created the universe and the earth at the same time. The universe is so much older than the earth. The earth, scientists theorize that it's about 4-point-something billion years old, and then they look at the universe and look at the expansion process of the universe, and look at different asteroids that we've found that's hit the earth and pieces of it and dated, and the universe is like 13 billion years old. This version of the universe is like 13 billion years old, and I say this version because even though they discount the Big Bang Theory, the Big Bang Theory is a singularity that is filled with mass and energy, explodes out, creates the universe, the current universe, contracts back into the singularity, explodes out again, and this is a repetitive cycle. So, but according to this first chapter, first verse, it's saying that he created the heavens and the earth at the same time. And we know that the earth is not the same age as the universe. There are things in the universe that's much older. Now, here's an interesting thing. We're going to get to this later. The sun is older than the earth. But in verse 1, he creates the earth at the same time of the universe, and there's no sun. And the sun is older. So how did he do it at the same time? Foolishness. 2, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the waters, the face of the waters. So the earth didn't have any form, but we know the earth has formed over hundreds of thousands, millions and billions of years. And it says that there was a void, and the dark, a void, gotta have the reading glasses, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. What water? What water? We know the earth was not created with water, that there were millions of years that the earth existed, that this ball of rock existed, and it was dry. There was no water, right? Exactly. Who created the water? But there was no water. And before any of this other stuff happens, there was no water on the planet. So he's moving his face over the waters, right? But there isn't any water. See, this is people who are writing at a time where they already got water. So for them in their mind, the earth was already the way it is at their time frame, right? So, and he said, Mary says, how can you take the Bible when you was born of a female? We're going to get to that too, all right? I was beaten into your ancestors' wake up. It was beaten into your ancestors' wake up, exactly. But so there's no water. There was a time frame where the earth has never been covered by water, ever. There was never a point that the whole earth was covered by water. So this part here, where God moved his face over the waters in the very beginning, right after creating the earth, is false in science already. We know that didn't happen, right? That could not have happened, right? Moisture creates water. So why come to God? Can't say, let there be water. Exactly, right? So there was none. There's no water. But his face supposedly moved over the water. And then 3, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. Hold on. God said, let there be light, and there was light. There's no sun. Sun hasn't been created yet. We're going to see that later. There's no sun yet. There's no sun. Now, people like to say that God was the light. Well, see, here's the problem. Here's the thing about that. The early universe was filled with light. You got stars exploding. You got supernovas. You got gas. There was tons of light going on through the exploding stars and supernova and gas giants and all these things happening. The early universe had tons of light. But God said, let there be light. So that even goes back to the first part where he said, and there was a darkness in the void. What darkness? What darkness? Without an atmosphere. There's no atmosphere in the early universe. There was no atmosphere on the earth at that time frame. There was no darkness. There's all kind of light pouring in from all the supernovas and gas giants exploding. But according to this, there was darkness in the void. And then according to this, God then decided, let there be light. And there's no sun. So where is this light? There is no light. That's an impossibility. And verse 4, and God saw the light, and it was good. So God saw the light. So God is the light and saw the light. So looking in a mirror or something. And he said that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And in verse 5, and he called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. The first day. The first day. Interesting. First day. So there's no sun. There's no moon. And if this is the first, and so how is this a day? Now, people, Bible creationists will say that this all happened in a 24-hour day, right? I come back, don't like your title nonsense. Okay. I was told the stars were the light. See, here's the problem with the stars being the light. The stars aren't created yet. We're going to find out later that he creates the stars later. And we're going to talk about that. So, didn't 2 days? No, this is all in day one. This is all day one. Boom. Created the heavens and the earth at the same time, even though we know that that's not true. And he separated the light and the day. And God had created the light. But the stars are not the light. They can't be the light because they're not here yet. They're not created yet. And if we think about it, what other star other than the sun is close enough to provide light for the earth? None. None. In verse 6, and God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters. And he divided, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which was above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning, and that was the second day. So in the first day, he created the whole universe. Created all that, the whole universe, but it didn't have any stars in it yet. Created this whole universe, created the earth, did all this work. But on the second day, he kind of lazy. He just separating some waters, right? Now, as I said, though, there was never a point where the earth was completely covered in water. But yet, he's supposedly separating the waters to create the land. And there was a firmament. Now, some versions say a vault, that they separated through a vault, making it like there's a tent, like there's a dome. And I know some of the flat earth people, they like, yeah, there's a dome over the earth, and he separated the dome. What you have to understand is that the people of that day looked at the water on earth and saw it was blue. They looked at the sky above and saw that it was blue during the day. They had no idea of light shining through the atmosphere and it making it look blue through all the moisture in the air. So they, in their mind, looked up and saw an ocean above themselves during the day. So that's where they get their firmament. They're separating the water, separating that, as if there's a big canopy of water that God has divided to hold the water up in the sky so that it won't fall down on them. So this is where they're getting this idea of this separating the heavens and the earth and the water on the earth. When we know that blue sky is because of light going through the moisture in the air, through our atmosphere. It is not because there's water up there. And for them, they already know and have experienced rain. Even though we're going to talk about that later, they have already experienced rain. So for them, God turns on a faucet. Like he turns on the shower and showers the earth. This is why they pray for rain, and they think that they can pray rain into existence instead of recognizing weather patterns. They didn't understand weather patterns at the time. So for them, there's a bunch of water above. Right? And as a kid, I was like, that don't make sense. That's nonsense. It makes no sense at all. So, yeah, this is what they were thinking when he said he separated the firmament. And if you're separating this firmament and from the heavens, which they're saying the universe, the sky, and then that was the morning and the evening, and again that was the second day. How do we have a second day? We don't have a sun. We don't have a moon. We don't have any of those things going on yet to which we tell time. But if God was the light, where did he go? God is omnipresent, right? If the God of the Bible is omnipresent, how can he not be around? His light would still be shining. They would have had constant day. There would be no such thing as day, as night, right? But according to this, there was, and that was the second day, right? Uh-oh. I got a jacked up version of this Bible right here. So, so that's what we're looking at. We're looking at that. Y'all, I messed up. I downloaded a very not so good version of this Bible, of this thing, so that we can utilize it, but it want to skip to the next chapter. Give me a second, people. Give me a second. This is what happened when you don't scroll through everything, make sure everything was on point. It's all right. We're going to be just fine. We're going to be just fine. So you got any questions, anything might say didn't do that? And I thought there was no such thing as time with God. This is a true statement. If God is just existing, where does time come from? You shouldn't have any time. But see, but when you got people who are just writing this, people just making up stuff, you're going to have time involved, right? And when you get, and that's going to create this situation where these people are believing and looking at their own day. And people say you got to look at it through spiritual eyes, but the people who wrote it, they were writing it based on their time, on what they understood, on how they saw time. They weren't writing it based on some spiritual mindset of it. No, they were just going straight up on, they know that the sun comes up and the sun goes down, and they're trying to figure out how that happens, right? So as we continue, and we get to verse number 10, and God called the dry ground. So this is after the second day. So we're working on the third day. Right. So verse 9. And yeah. See, this version has the vault, called the vault of the sky, and the evening and morning. So it's gonna be a little bit different. And God said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. God called the ground land, and He gathered the waters and called them the seas. And God saw that it was good. And then God said, "Let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it, according to their various kinds." And it was so. The land produced vegetation, plants, seed-bearing and seeds according to their kind, and the trees bearing fruit with seeds in it according to their kind. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning, and that was the third day. So He called the dry land ground, right? And then He made all the vegetation at that moment, right? And God saw a spot of stripes, and that's why they had to separate them. But he called it vegetation. So on this third day, God created all the plants. He created all the seeds bearing plants and all the fruit. And it was in the ground. And the ground produced it. But there's no sun for photosynthesis. Now, anybody who's tried to plant anything would know that you need the sun in order to plant it. Even if he just poofed it out of the ground and it was all there, it would all wither and die relatively quickly because there's no sun for photosynthesis so that it goes into the ground. There's no rain. So there's no water source for the plants to be able to grow. So to say that He created the plants on the third day doesn't make any sense at all. He saw spotting or stripes. That's why He had to separate them. And why does everything need to be described as good? Exactly. Right? And 10,000 years, 1,000 years is one day, which is an allegory that was written in Peter, one of them Peters, to break that down, to try to get man to start saying that, oh, okay, God's time is different from man's time, and that's where that type of doctrine comes. But this is literally saying the evening and the morning and the evening, and that was a day. That was a day, right? So God created it, and He created all the plants, and it's the third day, but there's no photosynthesis. It doesn't work that way. My pappy was a farmer to his heart's core. You need some water source, and you need rain, and you need photosynthesis from the sun. You need sunlight to shine down in order for your plants to grow. But He just made it. Now I want you to remember this, that on the third day, keep this in mind, on the third day He made this, right? He had all this stuff. It was there, right? Had the vegetation. 14, and God said, "Let there be light in the vault of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as sign to mark sacred times and days and years." and let them be lights in the vault of the sky to give light on the earth. And it was so. God made, verse 16, God made two great lights, the greater light to govern the day and the lesser light to govern the night. And he also made the stars. God set them in the vault of the sky and gave light to the earth to govern the day and the night, to separate light from darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was the evening and the morning and the fourth day. Finally, on the fourth day, we get the sun and the moon and the stars. So all that other light, where is it coming from? It wasn't God. It wasn't see, when you said that, the people told you that that first light was the stars. No, he just made the stars. He just made them. Right? Just then. Right? And an interesting wording here. He let them serve as a sign to mark sacred times, days, and years. Now, any Christian who's true to their Christianity will tell you today that that's astrology. If you're looking at the stars for signs, that's astrology. That's supposed to be blasphemous. But here it says, let them be as signs to mark sacred times. It didn't say let them be as signs to mark seasons, so that you know when it's winter, it's fall, or it's winter, spring, summer, and fall. Not seasons. Mark them as sacred times. That's astrology. That's for you to look in the sky and then read things, prophecies, things that's supposed to happen based on the movement of the heavenly bodies. And this is because these people are coming out of Babylon, and they looked at Saturn, and they looked at the Venus, and they ascribed different of gods to these things. They looked at the stars, and they saw formations. If you were on Mars and you looked at the stars that make the Big Dipper, they're not making the Big Dipper. That's from the Earth perspective. They're not making it from Saturn. They're making something else. It looks something else. We see bears in the sky. We see all these different things. Kind of like when you look at a cloud and you just say, oh, that looks like a rabbit. Right? If we had no rabbits, you wouldn't say it looked like a rabbit. Right? He said God didn't write this himself and leave all mankind to read. Or why Adam didn't write Genesis. We're going to get to that. When Coach reads out loud, I feel like it's bedtime story. Go on, get your milk. Get the milk. Get the milk. All right? So he marked us, and this is for days and years. So we just now getting days and years, but he kept saying the evening and the morning, and that's the first day, the second day, the third day, but it's not to the fourth day that we actually get what can make the years. So something's wrong here. Whoever's writing this is not contemplating that they just wrote some stuff that don't make any sense. Right? And he put the lights in the vault of the sky. So the stars, the moon, the sun is not in our atmosphere. So how are they in the vault of the sky if he separated the firmament like a big tent? They're not in our atmosphere. That doesn't work. We know it's not in our atmosphere. He said it was so, and they made the two great lights, one to govern the day and the other to govern the night. Okay, any child, and I'm going to be any child that's in school probably by the 5th grade will know that the sun gives off light. They will also know that the moon does not give off any light. And here's another thing. The sun is way older than the moon. When you look at this, it's suggesting and it's saying that the sun and the moon were made at the same time, that the stars were made at the same time as our star, the sun, which at that time frame, these people didn't realize that our sun was a star. So he made the sun as a star, and then he made a bunch of other stars, but no, he said he made the sun, the moon, and then he made all the other stars. That doesn't work, all right? I thought it started at 8. Yeah, it did start at 8 Eastern Standard Time. I guess I should put Eastern Standard Time because I'm in Atlanta, so Eastern Standard Time. But he's saying that he made these. It is 8 o'clock, right? Yeah, it's after 8. He made these lights. He made the sun and the moon, and we know the earth. We know the sun was, according to this, the earth was made first, then the sun and the moon were made at, well, the earth was made at the same time as the rest of the universe, and then after the earth was made with the same time as the rest of the universe, then the sun was made and the moon was made and the stars were made at the same time. But we know that the sun was made, that the sun came into being before the earth was formed, and the moon came after. They ain't got his order. His order's not right. It's not right. The moon came later, right? And like I said, the moon doesn't give off light. The moon reflects light. It reflects the light from the sun. But for those people, they couldn't recognize that. They didn't understand it. They thought the moon was giving off its own light. And one thing, if the moon was giving off this light, right, then there wouldn't be moon phases. Okay? There wouldn't be any moon phases. Because if the moon is giving off its own light, then we would get that full moon effect 24/7. Well, not 24/7, but every day we get that full moon effect. But we don't get the full moon effect. We get phases of the moon because the moon is reflecting light, and based on the moon's position from the sun and the earth in between, we get a different moon phase that it doesn't reflect as much light because the earth is in the way, basically. The earth is in the way. We're playing shadow puppets with the moon. That's what we're doing. The moon is playing shadow puppets. That's the moon phases. So this already is so wrong. This already says that, no, somebody made this up because they were trying to base it on what they can look and see. And they thought the moon was giving off some light. Is the sun really black? No, I've never heard that before. But the sun, if the sun was black, then it wouldn't give off any light, right? So it seems like God he craves attention, patting himself on the back for everything he creates. Yeah, for now. And then he flips the script later on of how he does things. So that was the fourth day. Verse 20 through 23. And God said, let the waters teem with living creatures, and let the birds fly above the earth across the vault of the skies. So God created the great creatures of the sea and every little living thing with which the water teems, that moves in it according to their kind, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them and said, be fruitful and increase in numbers, and fill the waters in the seas, and let the birds increase on the earth. And there was the evening and the morning, and the fifth day. Again, we know through science that the animals in the sea came first, right? And the birds and the animals in the sea didn't come on the earth at the same time. The archaeological record shows that birds came much later after animals in the sea, which is why the theory is that every animal on land came from the sea first. We know that single-cell organisms were the first and oldest fossilized records that we have is single-cell organism in the water. There is no land-based animal that is older in the fossil record than what's in the sea. And we still ain't even figured out everything that's in the sea. There's still more shit to find out. But according to this, they was all made at the same time. Made all the animals, the wild animals, the ones on the ground, all that stuff. Just made them. The birds. He made all the birds and the animals in the sea at the same time, right? And told them to be fruitful and increase in number and fill the water of the sea, and the birds increased on the earth. We know this is incorrect. We know that science has shown us differently. That stuff didn't happen in that way. And then on to verse 24, we got, and God said, let the land produce every living creature according to its kind, and the livestock. Okay. I know I've been reading like the whole thing of a day, but that part just always throws me a bit. The reason why it says, and the livestock. Livestock indicates domesticated animals. God didn't domesticate the animals. Man domesticated animals. There was at no point in time where there was cows that was just running around as wild animals, you know. So like he created livestock. He created pre-domesticated animals that the cow just rolled up and like, hey, look at him. The goat, the sheep just rolled up and like, I'm supposed to be with you. I'm supposed to be here to provide for you. I'm supposed to give you some meat. I'm supposed to give you all the stuff. Because later we're going to find that it says that all the plants were for man to eat, not the animals. So how are their livestock? What did you need livestock for? If all the animals, if everything was eating grass, if people was eating, you know, the fruit from the trees and everything, what you need livestock for? That line always throws it. That line always should make your ears perk up and be like, livestock. That's what an agrarian society would say if they was writing this at the time frame, so that they can explain everything and make people think they've always had livestock. There was no livestock. Even Adam in this thing didn't have any livestock. He wasn't domesticating animals. So that little line is just so like right there in your face that this is written by some people. But the livestock, the creatures that moved along the ground, and the wild animals. See, you got the wild animals, you got the livestock. Right off the bat. God said, man, gonna need some animals to do some work, to be workhorses. Each according to its kind. And it was so. God made the wild animals according to their kinds, and the livestock, that damn livestock, according to their kind, and all the creatures that moved along the ground according to their kind. And God saw that it was good. The thing about it is, that livestock thing, you just making some livestock. These people didn't need that. There was no people. That's what I mean to say. There was no people yet. If there's no people, why are there livestock? There's no people. You don't need chickens in a coop because there's no people. All right, but let's go. Let's keep going. Then God said, let us make man in our own image, in our likeness. Who's us? Where's the us? Now, of course, a lot of Christians say, well, Jesus was with him at that time frame. Well, if Jesus was with him, then Jesus hadn't been separated from him into a body of a man. So there is no three. They supposed to be should just be one dude, one cat. So who to us? Sounds like the Sumerian story. Sounds like the Sumerian story when Enki and Enlil and Anu are having a conference, and Enki suggests, let us make man in our own kind. I mean, the Sumerian text says it just like that. Let us make man in our own kind. And I said Sumerians, sorry, not Sumerians, Sumerians, which is before the Sumerians, which is before the Hebrew, before the Babylonians, before the Assyrians, before all these other people. You had the Sumerians who wrote about the Anunnaki coming down and making man. You know, we're going to get there definitely throughout this whole Genesis, or this first parts of Genesis, of how Enki suggested, hey, let us make man in our own image, meaning let's take this humanoid, this Homo sapien, well, not Homo sapien yet, but let's take this humanoid and let's add our DNA, make man like in our image, give him our DNA so that he can be more like us as a workforce, as a slave workforce. So if you want to know why slavery is all throughout the Old Testament, we're going to cover that so many times as we go through Genesis, like especially when we start getting to the Jacobs and the Abrahams and all that. They making us, according to the Sumerians, as a slave race to the Anunnaki. So they said, let us make man in our image. But we just gonna stick with the Bible, what they said. And you know, he said, let us make man in our own image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds of the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals and all the creatures that might move along the ground. Let me ask y'all a question. There right here say, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea. Okay? I need all the Christians who come up and they look at this to go find them a great white shark and say, God said that I rule over you. So let me get on your back and I'm gonna ride you. Go find me a great in the wild, and let's be specific, not them trained animals, not them trained livestock. No. It said over the livestock and all the wild animals and all the creatures that move over. Roll up to a lion in the wild and let that lion know that you rule over him. That's what I want to see. Even the ones in the zoo, don't feed that lion. See what happens. You go rolling off in there. See what happens. You're gonna be lion food. But according to this, you have dominion over them. You can rule them. Basically, it sounds like I just want to mess up the earth however I want to mess it up. I can do whatever I want to do, and they just giving a justification for it. So how is Jesus God? Where he come from? Well, you know, that's what they say. That's what they say. When you're stealing a story yeah, you're stealing somebody else's story, exactly. So God created mankind in his own image, and in the image of God he created them, and male and female he created them. Now we're gonna get to something in chapter 2, where man became a living soul. And people say that this version of man, male and female, that was created was not man and woman, it was male and female. And that this was a soulless creature. Now, this kind of thing has been used to justify, just say it plain, white supremacists for the most part in our recent histories, but justify Christian people going into other people who look differently than them and killing them by saying that you are male and female and you have no soul. Because until Adam and Eve was created, there was no souls of anybody. But here's a dilemma. If he created man in his own image, male and female, and they ain't had no soul on that sixth day, this is the sixth day, by the way, then God ain't got a soul. And maybe he don't. Maybe the God of the Bible don't. Because maybe as we go through Genesis and we start getting into all the genocide that goes on and some of the dumb reasons that people get murdered by God, then maybe because God ain't got no soul. This guy don't have a soul because some of the murdering that he does, a soulless being would do that murdering. A soulless being would do that murdering right there. But maybe God ain't got no soul. I don't know. Peace. So God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in numbers. Fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, and over every living creature that moves on the ground. I guarantee that the people who was walking around in that day, in that and the Levant, was probably walking around. They had little mountain lions and things like that. I guarantee they wasn't ruling over the mountain lions. I guarantee they wasn't ruling over them wolves and stuff like that around there. I guarantee. But they claiming it right here. They claiming it. Then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth and every tree that was fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food. They will be yours for food. Didn't say nothing about the animals. And all the beasts of the earth and all the birds in the sky and all the creatures that move along the ground, everything that has breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food. And it was so. And God saw that he had saw what all that he had made, and it was very good. And there was the evening and the morning, and that was the sixth day. I have a big problem with this verse. Very big problem with this verse. According to this verse, God gave every seed-bearing plant on the whole face of the earth for all the humans and the animals to eat. First of all, we know that the carnivores weren't going for that. The lion wasn't eating leaves. We know that. Now, here's the bigger problem. We know that there are a bunch of poisonous ass plants out there. But he said every plant. Every last one of them. So then what I want some folks to go out there, and I want y'all to eat some poison ivy. I want all y'all to go out there and eat some poison ivy. I want you to go out there, and I forgot the name of the tree, but there's a berry tree that grows all over Georgia. But if you eat that, your ass gonna get sick and you might die. I want you to go eat that. Go, because your God said he gave you every plant. And don't sit up here and say that these plants weren't in existence back then, because yes, they were. Mulberry, yeah, I think it's the mulberry. These plants were in existence. They've been around. There's been plants all over the planet that if you eat it, you will die. Right? You will die. Yeah, the gangster guy made people kill more people than over 4 million. The 400 million of us that was killed. Man, so many people got killed, billions. But go eat all the plants. I want to see it. I want to see some folks who believe this, who take this literally, to go out there and eat all the plants. Eat every plant on the planet. And live. I guarantee you won't. We know that there are plants that have been used as poisons to kill people, but yet you want to go eat it. Now, on a positive note, if all the plants are good for you to eat, for all my people who smoke the marijuana, yeah, I call it the marijuana. I got my hat on so I can act old. All my people who smoke the marijuana, God said he gave it to you, it's good. And then he said it was good too. Then he said it was good. I could swear he said it was good. And he saw all he has made and it was very good. So the marijuana, go eat that. Go eat the marijuana. Marijuana good for you. Yeah, so that's a positive. You know, I think cocaine comes as a plant too, right? So go eat that. Go eat the cocaine. Oh man, this stuff right here. This stuff right here, y'all. So we got that, right? So let's continue. Let's continue. Oh, I messed up my readings. So I want y'all to go eat some plants. I want y'all to go eat all the plants. So that was chapter 1, right? And that's creating in 6 days. 6 days. But we didn't have this moon. We didn't have the sun. We didn't have all these things that create days for us. But yet and still people think that all these things happen in the way it happened. And when we get here in chapter 2, it gets worse. You would think chapter 2 that the people of Judah, in the kingdom of Judah, after reading what the Israelite, the northern kingdom of Israel wrote, that they would have said, you know, this is messed up. But instead of them saying that, they say, you know what? They wrote a story. It was so general. We're going to write a story even more effed up. And that's what happens in chapter 2. They write a story that's even more jacked up than chapter 1. Chapter 2 is really terrifying if you think about it. And we're going to think about it. So thus the heavens and the earth were completed in all their vast array. By the 7th day, God had finished his work, finished the work he had been doing. So on the 7th day, he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the 7th day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creation that he had done. Omnipresent, all-knowing, all-powerful God needs to take a nap. He needs to rest. Now I know people say it's the allegory that man shouldn't work every day. He could have just said, and on the 7th day, God said men should rest from their work, since he told them to subdue the earth. But on the 7th day, bless it, make it holy. But the statement that God rested. Why does an all-powerful God need to rest? It's not an example. Could have written it out. If I was writing that, I wouldn't have said it that way. I would have said it morally. I would have said what I just said earlier. That I would say, and God said that man should rest on the 7th day, make it holy and bless it, so that man who needs rest can get his rest. But to insinuate that God needs rest from all his work. And here's the thing, all his work, and he said it was completed, it was finished. How is it finished? How is it finished? New stars are created all the time in the universe. How is it finished? Things are still changing. How is it finished? That would insinuate that it's good, it's done. There's nothing else that needs to be done. But we know that shit changes. Change is the constant of the universe. So that doesn't work. That doesn't work. And here's a little thing. I know we're sticking with this right here, but just a little side note of history. Before the kingdom of Israel and the kingdom of Judah went into Babylon, they had a 28-day calendar. Like, they didn't have weeks, right? They just had 28 days because they based it on the moon cycle. Okay, they based it on the moon cycle. They had like this 28-day count. It was during Babylonian captivity that they learned from the Babylonians about a 7-day week. The Babylonians were the first one with the 7-day week. And why did they have a 7-day week? Because when they looked into the skies, there were 7 heavenly bodies that they can see. They saw, let me make sure I get it right. They saw the sun, the moon. They saw Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Hence, Saturn's day. And for the Babylonians, Saturn's day was a holy day for their worship of Saturn, of Marduk. That was their worship. And the Hebrews who left, the Hebrews and the people around them, because the southern kingdom of Judah, they were scared to get their butt whooped by the Babylonians and be taken into captivity too. They adopted this 7-day calendar. Hence, 7 days of creation. And on Saturn's day, we need to rest because the Babylonians rested on Saturn Day. So that's where that comes from, just to give you a little bit. Now it's going to get real good and crazy, right? Oh, somebody, what did you say? And our days of the week are named after other gods, etc. You're right. Because what? Wednesday is Woden's Day. Thursday is Thor's Day. Friday is Frigga's Day. Monday is Moon Day. Sunday is the Sun's Day. Not the S-O-N, the S-U-N, you know. So, and I forgot where Tuesday came from. I have to look that one up again. But it's named after other gods. You think Christians wouldn't go for Thursday, Friday, Saturday because those are named after Norse mythology. So, you know, hey, but maybe Christians like the Marvel movies, and that's why they stick with it. I'm going to go with that. So verse 4. This is the account of the heavens and the earth when they were created, when the Lord God made the earth and the heavens. Now, some people like to think that's backdating to chapter 1, but it's not. The kingdom of Judah is saying we are now writing the creation. This is how it happened. Them Israelites, they didn't know. The northern kingdom, they ain't know. They ain't know nothing. We about to tell you how it all went down. Because think about their first line in chapter 5 and verse 5 after that. No shrub had yet appeared on the earth, and no plant had yet sprung up, for the Lord God had not sent rain on the earth, and there was no one to work the ground. Okay. What day was that? Day 4? Day 4? Or day 4, day 5? Day 4, day 5? One of them back there? When he made all the trees, he made all the plants, he made the humans and the animals. And I know day 6, day 4, 5, 6. He made all the plants, the animals. He made all the trees, and he told all the humans, and he told all the animals that I give you all these seed-bearing plants for you to eat. But they said no shrubs. Nothing was on the planet. Now I had somebody try to tell me, "Oh, chapter 1 this is how it happened in detail." No, this ain't how it happened in detail. And he said God had not sent rain on the earth. I thought his work was done. He said on the 7th day it was done. So he had not sent rain. So there was no one to work the ground. So there's no humans yet either. But I thought on the 6th day he made some people. He made some people on the 6th day. But this is saying there's no plants, no animals, ain't nobody doing nothing. Okay. But streams came up from the earth and watered the whole surface of the ground. Then the Lord formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. Now the old King James says man became a living soul. But it says man became a living being in this version. So he's using streams now. He's using streams to water the whole earth. The whole earth. See, now if you're a desert people, right? You're a desert people, then yeah, your streams, your rivers, you don't get a lot of rain. So now you can explain why you go through these droughts. But that's why they live near the rivers, right? So they can say, yeah, these rivers, they just came up all over the place and just watered the whole earth by rivers. Their rivers and streams sometimes have hundreds of miles distance between them, and they're not flooding. How are they watering? The plants plants in the middle cannot. Their roots don't reach that far to reach the rivers and the stream. You got to have rain. But according to this guy, forgot. He said, "Oh shit, we don't need rain. Just live by the river. That's good, because these people live by the rivers. That's where they live, right?" And then he formed man out of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. Now, even if this was a difference telling, or even if he just said, "Oh shit, I didn't make it rain, so everything died." Now that was my first thought when I was younger. Okay, and I still think that if the earth don't rain, if there's no rain, rain stopped on the earth, right? River's gonna dry up, everything's gonna start drying up, everything's gonna die. Everything's gonna die. And if a millennium goes by and there's no rain, 1,000 years, so one day is 1,000 years. If a millennium goes by and there's no rain, earth dead. Okay? Dead earth. We ain't having it. It's dead. is dead. Maybe a few places where you got some underwater springs, but probably not. Earth dead, gone, over, we're done with. Okay, so no, there's nothing here. So he made some people. They all died out. And then God came back after his rest because he was tired. And he said, oh shit, I forgot to make it rain. Yeah, my work wasn't that good, was it? Yeah, I made a mistake. The all-powerful, perfect God made a mistake and didn't make it rain. Which is very, integral to the survival of the earth, right? Right? So that's how I do. Let's see what we got here. I got arrested on the 7th day. Yeah, just by that, I forgot what make him perfect, make him imperfect. Yeah, it makes him imperfect. That's why I am my God. Yeah, there you go. That's why I am mine as well. So he did make it rain. So now everything else was poofed into existence. God just said, make man in our own image, and bam, there's man. Right? And then God said, boom, I'm making all the animals, and boom, there were the animals, and there were the birds, and there was all the creatures in the sea. But for some reason, he changed his mode of operation here and said, well, I screwed up the first time. So this time, let me gather up some dirt. Now, of course, the Egyptians and the Sumerians all talk about how man was made from the clay of the earth. So maybe that's where that came from, right? Maybe that's where it came from. So he made some dust, and he breathed into his nostrils. Not give man a brain, not pump his heart. No, but he breathed his breath into his nostril, so man can start breathing. Right? So you got a dead corpse of a man's body laying on the ground, and God gives him some CPR, and man becomes a living being. So now man has a soul. Now man he's a soul being, right? And this is how some Christian anthropologists and archaeologists will say, well, this is why there's Cro-Magnon man and Neanderthal and all that. But it doesn't fit because these people existed for, hundreds of thousands of years and then died off in different reasons for each group dying off, right? Right. So make the sun and moon on the 4th day. So where would the great lights come from? Yeah, that way, God said he was the light. That's what they say, he was the light. Right? So he made everything out there, but he makes man out of the dirt. So, but we got to keep going because this is some good stuff right here. Good stuff. Now the Lord God had planted a garden in the east of Eden. So God is out there farming. He planted the garden. Now, he didn't poof the garden. He planted it, right? Or put it down. Maybe it floated from heaven and right down, right? In Eden, and we say Eden is perfect. That's what that's what Eden means to most people. Say, oh, I'm in Eden. It's like, oh, I'm in this perfect place. And there he put the man he had formed. And the Lord God made all kinds of trees grow out of the ground, trees that were pleasing to the eye and good for food. In the middle of the garden, there was the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. This is stupid. First of all, can you imagine if you were just standing there, God got you, you stand in a little garden, you stand in some dirt, and then all of a sudden trees and stuff start erupting out of the ground, coming up, and plants and stuff, and yeah, it might look good, but that's terrifying. That's terrifying. That's like watching earthquake. Like, have you ever seen an earthquake movie when shit just start popping up and things? If you standing here, how do you know a tree ain't about to come up your crotch and blow you out of, but you just, you just see it? No, that's a terrifying thing. When I was a small child, that scared me. I used to think like, damn, Adam, you sitting there and all of a sudden the tree just, that was terrifying. Like, this is crazy. But that's what Adam was just like, chill, okay. All right, apple tree, pineapple bush, banana tree, date tree. Like, everything just popping up out the ground. That's terrifying. That's very terrifying. My feet keep on messing up on me. All right, but hey, and then it gets even dumber, right? In the middle of the garden, there was the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Tree of knowledge of good and evil. Now, this good God, right? This good God, who knows he's going to tell man, don't eat from that tree, decided to put it right in his face. Right there. Now, I'm a parent. I got 3 kids. Right? I have a license to carry a gun. I would never just leave my gun on the table and say, hey, don't touch that gun. I'm gonna put it right in front of y'all, but don't touch that gun because you might die if you touch that gun. No, it's locked away. It's put out of my they were always out of my children's reach, right? Yeah, so Adam was born a grown man. Yeah, according to this, he was born a grown ass man, right? Just walking. I don't know how, he just knew how to walk, right? He even knew how to have sex, exactly, right? And he didn't have a brain yet. Just grown ass man. But if I'm making something that I know is not good for my kids, if I got something, I'm not gonna put it right in their face, right? When I smoke my cigars, you guys see me smoking cigars, sometimes when it's adjusting to a nub, you might see me use this and put it on. I'm not leaving this where my kids can get their hands on it. I'm not leaving this where any child can get their hands on it. Because if they remember, these people gonna be stupid. They're not gonna know the difference between good and evil yet, right? So, but he just gonna plant it right down the garden, knowing that it's a problem. That's. And people say, oh, well, he wanted to test man. But if he's all knowing, he already knows man's going to fail. And if you're trying to create this perfect situation, why do you need to test him? You don't. God is very irresponsible, Denise. Very irresponsible. But here's another thing. Now, the tree of life was also in the garden. At this point, there's not supposed to be any death. So if there is no death, why is there a need for a tree of life? Just want to know. Just want to know. If there's no death, if man was created and man's body is in the image of God and God is supposed to be eternal, why do you need a tree of life? Why? Now, according to the Sumerian story, Anu represents the tree of life, which is the science of immortality, or the science of living for hundreds of thousands of years. And Enki represents the tree of knowledge, who is later vilified as the serpent. In the Anunnaki story, which was passed along to the Assyrians and the Babylonians and then to the Hebrew people. So, yeah, maybe that's why there's a tree of life. But just based on this, right? There's no need for a tree of life if there is no such thing as death. Adam had to been looking at that and be like, okay, tree of life. What is life? I mean, not what is life. What is the alternative to life? If he doesn't know good and evil, then he doesn't know death. So then how does he know? Why do you need a tree of life? Wouldn't need to eat from that. Wouldn't need to. Doesn't make any sense. Right. Why would he get frightened about them becoming one of us now? Oh, I'm going to tell you why he get frightened of that. He get frightened of that because then we'll be able to look at this bullshit right here and be able to say, nah, bro, that ain't working. But then the Bible, the Genesis 2 does this weird thing right here. Like, this doesn't make, this. If this is all in the beginning, this doesn't make any sense. This passage here, from 10 through 14, makes no sense. Its placement makes no sense. Right? And the river watering the garden flowed from Eden. From there it was separated into 4 headwaters. The name of the first, the Pishon. It winds through the entire land of Havilah, where there is gold. The gold in the land was good. Aromatic, resin, and onyx was also there. The name of the second river was the Gihon. It winds through the entire land of Cush. The name of the third river was the Tigris. It runs along the east side of Ashur. And the fourth river is the Euphrates. This lets you know that the people who wrote this, they lived along the Euphrates because they didn't tell you what land it ran around. Now, if Adam is the only dude around, Adam the only dude, what's the geography is here for? What we need all this geography? Why we need to know these rivers ran over here and ran over there? Why you naming places? Like, if Adam is the only person around, then it's all of it is Earth. It's just Eden. All that I can see is Eden. Is Edon. Yeah, in the Sumerian is Edon. So it's Eden. Yeah, well, you know where Enki brought the 2 Homo sapiens to Enlil? We'll do teachings on the Anunnaki will be a different day. We're gonna be doing Tuesdays. It's gonna be this. We're gonna go through this thing. We're gonna go a long way. We're gonna be doing this for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, right? So, and then then no pastor could ever answer this when I was 12 years old. Where there is gold, in Havilah, there is gold. The gold of that land is good. Aromatic resins, I guess, he liked to like some incense. And onyx was also there. Let's see, let's count the number of people that you got. We got Adam. We got animals. We got birds. We got all that stuff. We got leaves. He living in a place where he can just walk up. I need something to eat. Point, pick it, eat it. Eat the leaf, eat it. He good to go. Need some water? Got a river right there. Got water. He got everything. He's running around butt ass naked. Got everything he need. What does he need gold for? Can somebody explain that to me? I need you to explain it to me. What does he need gold for? And why is the gold good? Now, if there was just gold there, okay, there's gold. There might have been some diamonds there too. But if you just said there's gold and diamonds were there, okay. But he said that it was good. Why is gold good? Makes no sense for gold to be good if you're the only person on the planet. You're not trading it. What, you think an animal is coming up there swindling you? Say, hey man, I got some oranges that I found over here. I know you can go pick them oranges yourself, but I got some oranges, I already picked them. But if you give me some of that gold, then I give you the ones that I already pre-picked. These are pre-picked oranges. I already got them picked for you. And he can just go over there and pick his own damn oranges. What's the gold for? What does he need gold for? And why is the gold good? Now, again, I know I keep throwing Anunnaki stuff in here, y'all. I know I do. Now, to the Anunnaki, gold was good because gold was used to sprinkle into the Anunnaki's atmosphere in order to, on the Nibiru, to reflect the sun radiation. We've used gold flakes in our atmosphere to close our ozone layer to reflect the sun. It's interesting how we did that. We've been doing that for a while now when we was having all that ozone layer stuff. We did that exactly based on what the Anunnaki did. And we also know that the runoff from gold is used as part of the elixir to make your life live longer. Now, we ain't figured that out yet in its totality because people be they poisoning themselves trying to drink gold and drink the runoff of gold when you smelt it, when you're going through your alchemy of purifying the gold. We know people have poisoned themselves trying to figure it out. But according to the Anunnaki story, they use that liquid in order to preserve their lives a lot longer and make their brain work better because, the electrical impulses, when they fire through gold, they don't lose any energy. But when it fires through copper or other kind of metals, they lose energy depending upon the purity of that metal. So maybe that's why they put gold, because the Anunnaki wanted some gold. And because they were already a society that placed value on gold, right? So but that don't make sense. That shouldn't be here. We don't need a geography lesson at this point. It doesn't matter what they run next to. None of that matters. It doesn't. So what does gold look like before? It can have all kind of like other minerals and things in it. He said gold was good because he knew he had to make Eve and get her a ring. Did Adam have a refinery? When I see him hit the light before. I know. It's great. Maybe that's why. He had some gold. He's like, you know what, and that's just, look, as we go through Genesis, y'all gonna find out that and this is another reason why I could not be Christian. The Bible hates women, okay? If you're a woman and you're still Christian, it makes no sense. The Bible hates you and is gonna let you know that it doesn't like you. It places zero value on you other than the ability to make a baby. And then when it does talk about give you a name, you are the worst thing in creation. So we're going to get to all of that. It's going to be, I'm telling y'all going to have to stay with me for weeks and weeks and months for us to go through all of Genesis. Because you see, we're just trying to do 2 chapters already, an hour, 10 minutes into this thing. All right? Because y'all know I'm long-winded. And we ain't even got to the end of this one yet. But we almost there. All right? And the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. And the Lord God commanded the man, you are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. For when you eat from it, you will certainly die. Dun, dun, dun. This is stupid. Because God said he put Adam in. Now, he was already in the garden when he burst up all the stuff out the ground, but he put him in there again because I guess he forgot that he put him in there already, right? He forgot. But then he said, I got to put him in there again. But then he told him to work it. If you're the only man on the planet, now I love apples, right? I love apples, I love oranges. One apple tree produces hundreds of apples. I don't need to do nothing to that apple tree. If it's just me, I'm not trying to harvest it to take it to the grocery store, take it to market. If it's just me, that one apple tree produces hundreds of apples. What work do I need to do? That orange tree produces hundreds of oranges. What work do I need to do? Why does he have to work the garden? Did God say, you know what? I know I put man down there in that garden, but just for fun, let's put some thorns and thistles in there. Let's put some weeds down in there. We need to give him something to do. I mean, he just standing around, walking around, eating, taking a dump, all that kind of stuff. We let him eat from the tree of life, which, yeah. Why was man created with a system that has waste? If man was made perfect, and if man was made in the image of God, then God is perfect. I forgot this part. When God was perfect, why does he, when man ate, why does he have an intestinal system that shits out waste? If you were made perfect like God, then you don't create waste. You're perfect. Everything you eat is perfect. Every energy that comes into you is utilized. But man had an intestinal system, a digestive system that out some crap. That you're supposed to be in the image of God. Why do you need that? And you also, a lot of them pictures show Adam with a belly button. I'm just gonna leave that alone. Just gonna gloss right on over that one. But what do you need to work at? Yeah, and what tools did he have? Did Adam say, got some weeds, got some thorns, that hurt my hand. I'm gonna pull it up, right? So was it okay for the animals to eat from the tree, or were the fruit? No. Yeah, of course it says that the animals, they all ate the same leaves and all that kind of stuff as well. That all the animals at this time frame, all the animals supposed to be eating vegetables. Everybody's a vegetarian. And actually, they all raw vegans, to be exact. They all raw vegans. All right? They all raw vegans. So the lion is eating vegetables, even though his system is not built to eat vegetables. Now, if a Christian person says that a lion's body evolved into eating meat, then evolution, Christian. Even if you say adaptation and they adapted to eating meat, it's still a part of evolution, Christians. So the lion just ate. Then how did the lion do it? Because if you try to make a lion a vegetarian today, that lion is gonna be sick as heck. It ain't gonna work. It's not gonna work. So where was I? Oh, and told him that you must not eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat it, you will certainly die. Now, we are going to learn when we get into chapter 3 and 4 and all that kind of stuff, and 5 and 6 and so on and so forth, that God makes a lot of promises that he don't keep. God is like, I see these parents all the time that come into my store, and they like, Johnny, if you don't behave, you're not going to get any popcorn. You're not going to get that ice cream. If you don't stop hitting me, Johnny, or you're not going to get, Jennifer, if you talk to me like that again, you're not getting a treat. And then 5 minutes later, they're buying Jennifer a treat. I'm standing there looking at these parents like, y'all words are worthless. Y'all make these empty threats. We're going to see that the God of the Bible, he kind of like that. He kind of like little, his justice system is all kind of jacked up, for one. We're going to see that too when we get into Cain and Abel first, and we're going to see it a lot later on as we keep going. But his little justice system is all messed up, and he makes these empty threats. If he like you. Now, if he don't like you, like if your name is Gonna catch hell. Old nine gonna catch some hell for stupid stuff. But I'm just saying, that guy doggone, you gonna die in the day that you eat it? Because I think what they say. Yeah, if you eat from it, you will die. Now this one just say you will certainly die, but the old version say you eat from it, and that day you gonna die. And we're gonna learn. They gonna eat it. Ain't nobody dying. And then people are like, oh well, what God meant was that they would die a spiritual death. A spiritual death is what they're going to die. So then when you get to heaven, Adam ain't gonna be there, because Adam and Eve died a spiritual death. So their spirit is dead, right? That's what you're saying. It's dead spirit, because they ain't had no Jesus yet, and they ain't have all that other stuff yet. Abraham ain't killing stuff yet. But you know what? We're gonna he did kill an animal and put some clothes on, so maybe that was a sacrifice. But they ain't have to do nothing else after that, and they sure messed up some stuff. But he said you're gonna die, but you ain't die. God wouldn't be good at playing poker. He just wouldn't do good, right, at playing poker. He just wouldn't. Let me see what y'all saying. Y'all quit laughing at me. But if your name is Cody or Cortland, you're good. Adam had a long day, man. What a day. What a day. God dog, you done stood there, you done watched stuff pop up out the ground all over the place, and then you're getting told you're going to die. And here's the thing. Adam hasn't eaten from the tree of good and evil yet, so how would he know what death is? That's like when my children were smaller, and people always say, oh, you shouldn't be like, you shouldn't spank your kids, or you shouldn't be aggressive towards your kids. Now, I don't think you should beat the hell out your kids. No. But when my children were like 2 and 3 years old, and if I said, hey, don't run out in the street because you might get hit by a car and die, my 2-year-old, 3-year-old doesn't know what death is. They don't know that means you're going to get smashed and you won't exist as far as on this planet with me as your parent. You won't be existing now. They don't know that, right? So, it's like I have to teach them through like, hey, don't run out in the street no more. I told you, stay out of the street. Or like they got their hand, they trying to run the street, like, get back here. You don't run out in the street. As if the street is hot lava. I did tell them that one time. The street is hot lava, but our cars are specially made to drive on the hot lava. Don't pick on me because I told my kids that. I told my kids a whole bunch of crazy stuff when they was growing up. Right. But they wouldn't know what that is. They wouldn't know. Adam would not have known what death is. Right. You wouldn't know what cold is if you've never experienced it. Right. You had to experience it. Oh, thank you. Thank you, C-Mac. I appreciate the love. Appreciate the love. Right? So, here they are saying, don't eat from it or you're certainly going to die. But Adam had been like, I'm going to die? Oh, okay. What's that? Actually, me, if God would say, if you eat from now, you're going to die. Really? Let me try it. Because my curious butt would have been like, okay, I want to try this. I want to see what this death is like, because if I'm going to die. Because I wouldn't have thought that means I'm done. I would have thought, oh, let me try it. Right? Over on Facebook, Jay said Noah's Ark. We're going to get to Noah's Ark. That's much later, probably like August before we get there, because we're going to be going chapter for chapter in Genesis. I don't know, it ain't going to be August, but it's every week. All right? We're going to do chapter by chapter of Genesis. We're doing 1 and 2 today. All right? That includes going to hell. How can you if your debt is paid? True nonsense. Right? He wouldn't know what hell is. He wouldn't exist. It wouldn't even make sense to him. Right? Because remember, he doesn't have knowledge of good and evil. He just God said, do the work in the garden. How would he even know what work to do in the garden? Like, how would he know if God said you can eat from every plant and everything on the thing, and every plant has seeds. Otherwise, the plant can't grow itself. When things are natural, I ain't talking about that Monsanto's chemical made up stuff that we had today. But every plant, even a dandelion, weeds have seeds. So Adam was walking around eating weeds. He was eating it. Well, actually, some weeds we call them weeds, but they're actually medicines, like dandelions I just mentioned. But like poison ivy. So Adam would have just saw point out and said, that's good poison ivy. I don't know why I'm face itching, but that's some good poison ivy. I'm eating this poison ivy salad. So we eating the poison ivy salad. So he would not have known these things. And I don't know why somebody's knocking on my door. Y'all hold on for 1 second. video right now. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that, y'all. People think my cigar lounge is open and they knocking on the door. But he been waiting. He know it ain't open. I don't know why he tapping on my door. But anyway, sorry about that, y'all. Appreciate y'all being patient for a second. My bad. Can't edit that out. Where did he get the polar bear from? In Africa or the sea lion? Well, you know, the polar bear was a different bear in the garden, and then they migrated, and then they adapted or they evolved into the polar bear because, you know, the fur underneath the polar bear is black, you know. So he evolved into the polar bear, but then you got to say evolution or adaptation. You got to have one of them in there. So if you're going to take this straight up, then the polar bear was sitting there chilling, you know, in the garden, right? And we're going to get there. So he don't know what death is. So the Lord God said, is it not good for man to be alone? I will make a helper suitable for him. Now, why wasn't it good for him to be alone? First of all, he wasn't alone. God was with him. I mean, let's just be real. How many Christian people say, I'm good, it's just me and God. Me and God, that's all I need. Me and God. Right? And if it's just you and God, what man, he ain't by himself. Plus, God said, let us make man. So there's some usesses around in now. And according to the book of Enoch, the angels were also present during all of this. So it ain't like Adam just chilling now by himself. He got some folk, but he said, you know, let me make him a helper suitable for him. What do he need help? Help to do what? Help to pick his phone food, to just walk over and say, what do he need help for? What do he need help? Or is this the people who write in the Bible trying to figure out a way to make women? How do we get women into this thing? Right? But we know on the sixth day he made women, men and female, right? Yep, you got the dinosaurs there too. Yeah, no, they supposed to be there. As Kevin would say, absolutely. So we ain't got, what do you need a helper for? Suitable for him too. And this is an interesting thing. And I'm going to tell y'all, I got cussed out so many times in church for what I'm about to say in a few minutes here. Suitable for, what is a helper suitable for Adam? Now the Lord had formed out of the ground all the wild animals and all the birds of the sky. And he brought them to the man to see what he would name them. And whatever the man called each living creature, that was his name. So the man gave the names to all the livestock, the birds in the sky, and the wild animals. Hold up. I thought he already made all the animals. Poofed them into existence. Now he making everything out of the ground. Everything got to come out the ground now. Because these people, the lower kingdom of Judah was saying that, hey, you know, them northern Israelites, they poofing everything into existence. We know that when things die, they decay into the earth. So we're going to say that the earth, they came out the ground, right? And here's the thing. God kind of lazy now. At first, God was making everything poof. Now he like, just earth, make the animals earth. Okay, earth. And it sounds like evolution to me. But earth, make the animals. Okay? I'm tired. I rested on the seventh day. You know that's like 1,000 years. So I can't be doing this work. I just can't. No, it's beneath me. But so he made all of them. And Adam had to name all the animals. Now, according to this, we're going to get to it later, that Adam lived like 900 and something years or something like that. I mean, 900 years. We still discovering animals today. So who's naming them? Is Adam like never really died and they got him locked away like in the Smithsonian somewhere, and when we discover a new species they bring them to like Adam and he's still naming animals? Because he would still be doing this today, because we still finding stuff. We still finding different types of birds. Or did he see a bird and he said that's a bird, then that's a bluebird? And robin, yeah, we're gonna name that one Robin. That makes sense, you know, because it's orange and it's like dark brown at the same time, so I can't call it an orange-brown bird, because I already called, and that's a cardinal, because, yeah, I already called something else a red bird. I mean, just naming the birds. And some young creationists will say that, well, there weren't that many different species of animals around back then, so then we have to say adaptation and evolution again. So you can't have it both ways. Make up your mind of which way you're gonna go with this thing, right? So yeah, so it's like, yeah, appreciate that. Hit the button, like it, like everything. You'll drive yourself insane trying to legitimize the Bible. Yeah, this is why most people, I'm convinced that most people who claim the Bible has never read much of it, even up to this point. I don't think they read it because they had somebody tell it to them in different parts, but I don't think they ever actually read it and thought about it. So here's the part. Okay, this is gonna be crazy. But for Adam, no suitable helper was found. No suitable helper was found. So man gave all the names to all the livestock and all the birds and all the wild animals. This is what got me like really in trouble in the church. Oh, thank you for sending me your love. I appreciate that. People live longer without pretending to know why we are here and how humans came to be. Love you from my heart. Thank you. Yeah, because you know what? They got a peace of mind. The beauty of what I do, though, is that this gives me a peace of mind. This gives me so much joy and peace to not have to believe this, to know that this is crazy. And I have a unique ability that most people don't, especially people who think they are teaching other people. I have the ability to say, I don't know. Certain things, I don't know. Certain things, I will never know. Won't know, not in this existence, right? Just not gonna know. And I'm cool with that. I don't need to know everything about how gravity works in order to utilize it. I don't even need to know how centrifugal force works. I don't need to know how the sun got here. I don't need to know how the sun got here. I don't even know how the earth got here. But I know how to plant some stuff. And I know how to farm. I know how to do that. And I'm good. I don't need all that. Like Jim Rohn once said, some people are too busy studying the root instead of gathering the fruit. That's a whole business lesson that he was talking about. But anyway, here's this part that got me in trouble. I know I said that, and y'all been waiting to find out what did I say to these pastors and to some other these mothers of the church and all these people, because I was surrounded by all of them. I was about 12 years old, and I said, okay, God brought every animal to Adam, for Adam to name them, but he couldn't find a suitable helper. And in the next part, in the next part it says, so the Lord God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep, and while he was sleeping, he took one of the man's ribs and then closed up the place with flesh. Then the Lord God made a woman from the rib he had taken out of the man, and he brought her to him. And then the man said, this is now bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, not a name, woman, for she was taken out of the man. And that is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united with his wife, and they become one flesh. Adam and his wife were both naked, and they felt no shame. Okay. When you look at all that together, it's a couple of things we're going to talk about. But when you look at all that together, God said Adam shouldn't be alone, meaning that he needed something that was like him, something that he needed a suitable helpmate, something that he can be with. And we know everything else was made to duplicate each other. So he brought him all the animals, and he couldn't find a helpmate that would fit Adam. So was Adam running up behind the rhinoceros was he getting behind the chicken and trying to, did he grab the lion and say, come here? When I tell you I got cussed out in church, I mean, I had old people cussing in the church, right? I bet you some of y'all never thought about that, have you? I bet some of y'all haven't thought about that. Hadn't thought about the family that he brought every animal to Adam to find a suitable helpmate. Not find one that could plow the land. Not find one that he can have conversations with, because we're going to find out next week that some of these animals can talk. Not that, a suitable helpmate. And then the next thing, when he said he couldn't find one, God created a woman. Now let's be real. Let's be real. Take my glasses off, dude. When a man finds a woman, he finds a good thing. Because he's going to kiss up on that woman. He's going to hug that woman. Now I know some of y'all out there, I don't know, maybe some of y'all be kissing dogs and cats and shit. I ain't one of them, you know. But it sounds like a little bestiality going on. That's what it sounds like to me. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. But if God is bringing every animal to Adam and saying, which one is a suitable helpmate for you, buddy? And what do we call our wives, dudes? Helpmates, right? Because they help us in our journey of elevating in our consciousness, getting in touch with our masculine and feminine energy correctly so that we have balance. So the helpmate of the woman, as a man is the helpmate to the woman. Now, we bringing all these animals. What Adam doing with the animals? Yeah, I got cussed out in church for that one. I got cursed out. And literally, I mean, they cussed me out. They were like, what? You a damn devil? Bringing that into the house of the Lord? I remember getting that cuss out. So if all animals talk, then why did they stay? Exactly. If you took an arm off of it, what is this? Oh, the rib thing. We're going to get to the rib. If you took an arm off of a man and he had a child, the child would still have two arms. Okay? I will get to that. Because what he's talking about here is the fact that, he said that he took one of Adam's ribs to make a woman. Now, that's creepy as hell and terrifying. Imagine going to sleep. You know all them like urban legends, myth things, them urban legends where they say, oh, you might fall asleep and you wake up and the person you were sitting in a bath of ice and then I took your kidney out. That's what that sound like. Like that urban myth, that urban legend of you waking up in a tub of ice with a note saying call the hospital. That's what this is like. Adam just chilling, going to sleep. And God said, even though he was boning all the animals and nothing worked, let me make him something out of him by himself. So I'm going to cut him open. Now, before that, in chapter 1, he was poofing people into existence, poofing animals into existence. Chapter 2, he making it out the ground. And he making people. Why all of a sudden he turned into surgery against a person's will? All of a sudden it's like, no, cut open a rib, snatch it out of his body, make a woman. Now, as genetics go, if you take a man's rib and make another person, you're making a clone. So Eve is Adam's clone. The woman is his clone. That's kind of nasty too. Because if you made a clone of me, I don't want to bone it. It ain't going to be my wife. I don't want to bone my clone. Bone then you clone. Got a bone in? Nah, that's stupid. Right. So, but he don't snatch this man's rib while he in the middle of his sleep. And apparently, I mean, I don't know if he has some anesthesia or something, but he said he went to a deep sleep, right? And he snatched out the rib, and he made the woman. But then Adam had to know that he took a rib out, right? Because he must have had a scar or something, because how did he know he took a rib out? But here's the thing. How would he know he took a rib? Because men have equal ribs. I don't have a missing rib, right? And women don't have one more rib than men. We all got the same number of ribs, right? Ain't nobody up there like Chris Rock Thompson, can I get one rib? We ain't doing that. We don't have one rib missing. And as a child, I was told at a church that men are missing one rib. And I used to be feeling them and I used to count them and I was like, but I'm not. So that's one of the first reasons why I used to tell people, I'm not from here. I'm not from this planet because I got all my ribs. Y'all don't. And when I see my x-rays, I got all my ribs. I'm not missing a rib. So did we evolve back into having the correct number of ribs? Did we mutate into having the correct number of ribs? Is that what happened? Did we have evolution going on in our ribs so that man started having more ribs? Yeah, must have been. But he said he took his rib out. And that's why I've never referred to him as, yeah, that's my rib over there. No, you're not my rib. You're not my rib. You wasn't made out of me. Right. And why go through all that trouble of cutting this dude open when you could have poofed her or grabbed from the dirt made her? Now, that's why they got the story of Lilith in there. And that's why but we ain't going through Lilith. We sticking with what they wrote in this book right here. All right. So he called her, and he just called her woman. Come here, woman. You was made for me. And he said, and that is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united with his wife, and they become one flesh. Who's Adam's mama? Who's Adam's daddy? Now, if you say that God was Adam's mama and his daddy, then that would make God a hermaphrodite. Y'all never thought about that, did y'all? God, in this book, is a hermaphrodite. Some people will teach that Adam was a hermaphrodite, and when God took the rib out of Adam, he took the feminine aspects and made Eve from the hermaphrodite man of Adam, and then Adam became a man. But unfortunately, all throughout this chapter, he keeps referring to Adam as the man. He put the man in the garden. The man was told to work the garden. The man, the man, the man, the man. He didn't say the hermaphrodite was told to work the garden. The hermaphrodite was placed in the garden. So that whole, he's a hermaphrodite and they took the essence of femininity and made Eve. Nope. That doesn't hold water. That's just you trying to force your way into it. So many lies on top of lies. Their eyes crap out lies. So I know, right? But so who mama, who daddy? And where was the wedding? Did I miss the wedding? Did y'all see the wedding? Y'all ain't see the wedding? I ain't see the wedding. I didn't read the wedding. I don't hear nothing about the wedding. Now here's the thing. In the culture of the people who wrote this, the marriage wasn't you standing before somebody and saying that, with this ring I be wed, you are now my wife. No, as we read through Genesis, we're going to realize that the wedding is, hey, I had sex with you, so you're my wife now. That's it. That's how you get married in the Bible, right? You have sex, right? So all y'all who had your wedding ceremonies, and then the ceremony didn't marry you, other than the paperwork is man government stuff, but the actual sex is when. That's why they consummate. That's why if you are you don't consummate the marriage, you can get an annulment, or the marriage hadn't lasted that long, you can get an annulment. But it's all about sex. That's why when you get a divorce, and I learned this, that you have to go, check this out, in Georgia at least, you have to go 30 days without having sex with your wife, or you are considered in the state of marriage. You are still in the state of marriage simply because you had sex with her within 30 days. So you have to go 30 days without having sex with your wife or husband in the state of Georgia, and then you are considered not in a state of marriage, and you will be granted a divorce. Right there, and from that book is where they get that from. Having sex makes you married. So what they ain't telling you is that Adam and Eve had sex after he saw it. So Adam wake up, his side hurt because he just got a massive surgery. Eve was standing there looking nice and ripe. And he was like, woman! And then he got it. Didn't ask her, hey, and then think about that. Did anybody ask Eve if she wanted to be Adam's helpmate? I mean, I know she didn't have many options, right? She had no options. She had one dude standing there. So it was like, she's standing there like, woman. He's like, well, shit, you the only one there. So, but she could have decided like, hey, why couldn't she have said, you know what? This is a pretty big place. There might be somebody else over there behind the ridge, right? Said, I've been married many times. Yeah, every time you have sex with a woman, you're married. So you got to have sex. Now, if you're having sex and it's been less than 30 days, then you commit adultery. But if it's been more than 30 days, then you got biblically divorced and you married another woman. And, a man, whichever, I don't know, I didn't see the name again now. Okay, Lou. So then you married another woman, right? No, that was Smooth. Yeah, so you married another woman. I know. And then think about a man's boner. Think about a man's sex drive. That we cut up, but then we see a woman and we're like, I don't feel no pain. I don't feel no pain. She would probably, like, whoo, it hurt, but and look, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Y'all know, we transparent here. We transparent. I'm that guy. I've had a cramp like in my leg and it hurt like hell, but I ain't stopping. No, I'm gonna try to stretch that thing a certain way so that maybe the cramp will release while I'm still there. That's how men are. So I'm gonna give Adam some credit right here. I'm gonna give him some credit right here. I'm gonna say that it didn't matter that he had that cut in his side, because I know dudes. I know me, and I know y'all. I know you other dudes on here. Y'all can have that. Y'all can have a cramp. We can have a pain. I threw my back out a little bit the other day. It don't matter. I can have a flu. I can have all kinds. It don't matter. Let's get it. Especially if this the first time he saw a woman. Eve had to be bad. She had to be a bad woman, boy. That first time you saw her, you got this big cut on your side. And you just like, got to get some of that. Because they got married, according to this, they had the sex. And he said, and Adam and Eve were both naked, and they felt no shame. Why would they feel shame? You see, this is more proof that this is written by a culture that is writing this based on their culture. Because in their culture, the naked body was seen as a shameful thing. This is why when we get to Noah, I know JJ asked about Noah earlier. When we get to Noah, Noah being naked inside his tent and his son seeing him was a shameful thing, right? So the naked body is treated that way. This is why when Jacob has sex with Tamar, he never sees her face because they ain't getting totally naked. Because the naked body, they shameful of it. But they saying that right now, they felt no shame because they didn't know the difference between good and evil. So basically, the Bible teaches you that your naked body is to be shamed of. See, they was fat shaming, skinny shaming, fine shaming, perky shaming, way back then. They shaming you. They shaming. Because they saying that the naked body is to be ashamed. See, that's a back subliminal way of getting you to understand the naked body is you're supposed to be ashamed of it. Because when you're writing this in 500 BCE, then that's what you're gonna write because that was your culture of that day. So a book that has been written and rewritten so many times can never ever be believed when it is altered for the condition of the times. Exactly, very caring. That is exactly right. C-Max say, yep, threw my back out and still got exactly. Doesn't matter. We're going to do it. Right? We're going to do it. If you really want something, you're going to do it no matter what. So here they say that they were naked and felt no shame, which makes no sense. No sense at all. Because you don't know shame. So why would you know shame? That line doesn't matter. It should just say they were naked. That's it. They were naked in the garden, but felt no shame. But they needed that in there because of what comes next in chapter 3. Now next week we're gonna do chapter 3. I want to thank, I forgot the name, who did the super chat, the donation of $5. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate everything that you guys do. All the appreciation is not the actual money. Is the fact that, especially men, the way we love, the energy we put into our money is, if we give it away, then that's something. We don't get that away. That's sacred, right? No one knew what to feel in regards of shame. Humans made their own attributes of shame to control sexualized activities and diseases, right? Man can't wait. Great stream. Thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, so we're going to continue this next Tuesday, 8 o'clock. Make sure y'all are here. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're on Facebook, please go over to YouTube and subscribe to the YouTube. So we can do this here. A lot more conversation on YouTube. And more you guys hit that like button, it push up the algorithm. Same thing happens on Facebook. But I appreciate you guys. We will be here next Tuesday. I will be doing other videos about other subjects throughout the week. Those will just be videos that are just, edited and put together. But the live videos will be Tuesday, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Even if I'm somewhere else on vacation or whatever, I'm still going to be here on a Tuesday, 8 o'clock. It will be planned into my vacations. So I appreciate you guys always. Y'all have a great day. And remember what I always say. You got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.